weeks we were studying about Christianity in the world as a whole. Not that part is not over, but basically we have covered most important aspect for our purpose. There are a few more pages to cover, but I thought that I will go to Christianity in India. One big problem that I found is the lack of books with me. I have books back home in Kerala. I never thought I would need to take a detailed study of Christianity in India, so I didn't bring. Actually, I have half a dozen books on this subject, so Brother Tom has given me one book by a man called J.C. Dev, which is an extensive work actually. He has done a good amount of research and all that. The major weakness of that book is that book takes one side of the view only. It doesn't present the opposite view on many issues. So those who read, if they have not done any other reading, they will think that's the whole truth. That's a danger. As a good teachers, we need to expose to both sides and then show comparative weakness or strength, and let the listener, the reader, make the conclusions more than we make a conclusion for them. So that book has a weakness of that sort. Otherwise, plenty of information in it, definitely. So this question, when did Christianity come to India, is an unsettled issue actually. When did Christianity come to India? A general sense of the view by politicians and by Christians is that Christianity in India is as old as Christianity in itself is. That's a general view. But more critical scholars necessarily do not hold that view for different reasons. It is generally thought that Apostle Thomas came to India and brought Christianity. That's what generally, as Kenneth Scott Latray, a very famous church historian, he said it, insistent tradition ascribes the introduction of Christianity to India to the Apostle Thomas. Insistent tradition, that means that's what everybody insists. But he said that thus far this has never been satisfactorily proved or disproved. Nobody could prove it, nobody could disprove it, because the lack of any written evidence. It remains as a tradition. So how far this tradition is true, nobody knows. I am a little more of the opinion that Apostle Thomas may have come to India, but he may not have come to Kerala. Yes, there are less chances for him to come to Kerala. There are many reasons for me to think like that. Number one is the tradition that we find in Kerala is totally different from the traditions of Christianity in other places where the apostles have gone. We have Christianity all over Europe, for example. The traditions in India is quite different from that, such as the appointment of priests. The New Testament teaches that every believer is a priest. So how can Thomas appoint 7 families as priests? This contradicts the teachings of the Bible. Can you think that Apostle Thomas will do that? Then the establishment of building of church buildings as a holy place parallel to the Jewish people, that again is not proven. Only in the 4th century, the rest of the part of the world had the first, their own building actually. So how can Thomas come and just do that one? Then the tradition of child baptism, for example, Mamodisa. The Bible and the apostles elsewhere all had adult baptism. We never find it. Child baptism is from the 4th century on, 2nd, 3rd century on. So if Thomas Apostle came and he would introduce something other than what the Lord commanded in Matthew 28, 19 and 20. All over the world, the Bible the apostles introduced is the Koine Greek Bible. But in Kerala there is no trace of Greek Bible until much later centuries. It is the Syrian Bible, Suryani, So how can Thomas bring Suryani Bible? Suryani Bible was made only, translation was made only in the 2nd century. So Thomas brought the Suryani Bible before the translation was made in the 1st century. So there is, when you put together, there are so many inconsistencies in that tradition. The Syrian Christians in Kerala, for example, nowhere else in the world you have Syrian Christians where the apostles gone. So how could Kerala have Syrian Christians if Apostle Thomas came?
It's like corruption came on everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, well that's true, but this sort of corruption nowhere else we find. Like the having, only in Syria you have the Syrian worship, language of worship of Syria. Everywhere else it was, in the early days, it was Greek or their mother tongue. But here in Kerala, mother tongue is not Syrian. Why should Syriac language be taught here for liturgy? That's a big question. So apparently there was somebody who was interested in bringing, Syriac. That's a logical thing. So, so then it points out, we come back to the other view that in the 3rd and 4th centuries there were migrations from Syria, Syrian migrations. There were 3 major migrations. So they have brought the Syriac Bible and the Syrian language and all that. That makes. So Kerala Christians, old ones are called Syrian Christians because the Syrian people came and they have introduced Christianity at that time. So their converts were taught, Syrian language and Syrian liturgy and all that. So if Apostle Thomas came, definitely the Christians will not be called Syrian Christians. So there are very strong evidences contrary to. But be it that, everybody takes little pride in saying that Apostle Thomas started our country, so I say that okay, go ahead with that one. Yeah, the another thing is Kerala was never known as India in those days. No. The name India actually applied only to that area in the north, the Sindh River, Indus River. That's a place where. So by land route he may have come to, he can come from Palestine, he can come through Iran, Afghanistan, that he can take that route there. So he may have come there. And it's possible that from up he may have come down, it's possible. That's possible, it's a possibility. But his burial place is traditionally in Mylapore. So he is said to have been assassinated by a Brahmin in there. So he may have come down up to there, So all the traditions of appointing priests, 7 families, building certain churches, and the tradition that he has come to build a palace for a king. You cannot think that an apostle will go to build a palace for a secular pagan king and all that, When they put the pieces together, it doesn't hold very good. Now, the only thing that will suggest he has come is the fact that Kerala had Jewish migrations as far back as from 586 BC, when the Jerusalem temple was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar and all the Jewish people were scattered. While the majority of them were taken to Babylon, a good number of the people came to India, that is Kerala, because they had trade relationship the Arabs and the Jewish people had trade relations with Kerala for the spices as early as those days. So there was a Jewish settlement, of course, in Kraganur, which is Kodungalur, today. There's a Jewish cemetery and an old Jewish synagogue and all that. So it's possible that Thomas came to visit the Jewish people there. And like the other apostles went wherever the Jewish diaspora, they call them the scattering. So these people he may have come. If that's the case, then the early Christians in Kerala must be the Jewish Christians. But there is no evidence that Jewish Christians existed. Only evidence that there were Jewish people existed. Because none of those Jewish tombs have a cross on it. No evidence that the Jewish people here accepted Christianity. There were very Orthodox Jewish people remained. So if Thomas came, he couldn't accomplish what he came for. His mission was a failure. So there is less evidence actually, I think, that to prove that one. The book I read, he simply stated that Thomas came. Period. Doesn't evaluate, anything. So I am of the opinion that, if he had come, he didn't come straight to Kerala, he came there. There are evidences that he has came. There are some Christian writings as far back as 5th century which saying that there were Christians in the north around Indus Valley. There were many Christians there. And that's very much possible that Thomas must have gone. Kerala was not a part of India, that India, it was called the Hindu Desham, like in the book of Esther. That was never down here. It was only up there. So even that title, the word India cannot be, if it is mentioned anywhere, it cannot refer to Kerala at that time. So, history, secular history cannot support this. The strong tradition, that is, there is a strong tradition. No, definitely. So, if Apostle Thomas must not have come, some Thomas must have come. Yeah, definitely. And there is, history says that, the Kanai Thoman, for example, he came. He was a Syrian, and a lot of people came with him. And Kerala still have a strong, Knanaya people, strong Knanaya people, especially certain parts, in central Travancore, Rani, Chinganur area, Kottayam, and some of those areas. The northern Kerala doesn't have. The southern Kerala, Trivandrum area also does not have. The central Travancore area, has a very strong presence of the Knanaya Christians. So that supports the theory that Christianity in India was introduced by the Syrian migrations. So we have Syrian Christians, and Syriac language as our liturgical language, and the building of the church buildings and all that, they probably were brought in by,
No other part of India has Syrian.
No other part of India has Syrian Christian. Only Kerala has. No other part of the world has Syrian Christian other than in Syria. The apostles have gone everywhere. No Syrian Christians anywhere. So, and Syriac Bible is only used other than in Syria, over here. So these are very strong, argument against the Apostle Thomas coming. If he came, definitely some New Testament Greek Bibles, some manuscripts should have been available somewhere, because all the New Testament books were written in Greek language, but we don't have any trace of them. Only we have the Syrian Bible. So these are, the Syrian Bible was not made until that was the first version. First translation of the Greek Bible was in Syriac language. That happened in the latter part of 2nd century, 3rd century there, So the theory that we had migration of the Syrians and bringing the Syrian Bible, I think that's more acceptable than the Apostle Thomas coming.
So the claim that Apostle came in 1858, by the time the New Testament was not written.
Many books start coming, yes. But the fact that all the books were not written there, but if Thomas was here, the apostles definitely, unless he never went back or no other Jew from there came here, Christian, that very seldom happens. The apostles always had contacts one to another. So those books must have been, sent here. But we have no trace of them. For that reason, even interestingly, we don't have the manuscripts of the Septuagint Bible here very much.
Is Syrian Bible the translation of our Bible?
Yeah, Syrian Bible is a translation of the New Testament. Yeah, not the whole. The Peshitta they called the Peshitta. The Syrian Peshitta was.
Churches and Marthoma churches are the same churches.
Marthoma Church is very recent, only 200 years. Here in the Indian tradition of the churches were the Orthodox. Actually the Nestorian tradition. Now in church history we talked about Nestorian view that, see that Jesus Christ had we believe that there is a deity and humanity, in Jesus, but here there is only one nature, Deity, humanity united to form a third nature, the Nestorian view. So that's what the churches, for example, the Suraya, Chaldean Christian in Truchur, the Bishop Aprem and all those people, they're all very Nestorians. Here the Indian Orthodox churches held the Nestorius view for a long time. Even now also the Orthodox Church, they hold the Nestorius view. So these are all evidences that the Marthoma Church is a very recent, phenomenon. Abraham Alpan was lived in the 1800s, and Thomas Athanasius, the first their bishop was, when was he? He was in the early part of the 1900s. It's a very, very new church. Yeah. It was the Orthodox Church. The evangelicals came in yeah, and Daniel, and that's all. Yeah, that's so much. Very, I remember very well the fight going on and all that. Then they come out and all that. Evangelical church is what, 60, much younger than me. I may have been 15 years old when the evangelical church was formed. 50 years, maybe 60 years at the most. Yeah. Actually, some of our own men, like, Brother Joy David's father, David sir and all, they were all, came out from that and only, So it's very, very recent, very recent. Yeah, very recent evangelical church.
Is there nothing much common between the Syrian Catholic traditions in Kerala and the original Syrian traditions? If you go to churches that side, it's totally different.
It's different because there's a lot of adjustment to Kerala culture. There are certain cultures still of the Kranaya Christians, some of their culture, but still it's an amalgamation of the two.
But even in church architecture,
Yeah.
traditions, you see Syrian original churches which you can see now, they have got nothing. I haven't seen anything similar to that in
I don't know what was Syrian architecture, but the traditional architecture is different. The European, architecture is entirely different. The Syrian churches, which is the oldest Syrian church in Kottayam, in Chingavanam, where their headquarters is. The Rani church, which is, I don't know, which is the earliest settlement here in Kerala of granite? You know anybody? Anything about that? Don't keep up with your roots. Yeah. Yeah, there are many stories about him. He was a righteous man, but he was trapped. Yeah. He was trapped. He had 2 wives, The first wife was a legal wife. The second wife, I don't know whether these things should go into all these things. That's the problem. Tradition says that, they trapped him. They knew he was a righteous man. So a woman was washing clothes. And, he was coming by the, he was coming by the varamb where this woman was washing clothes. And she pretended her chain fell in when she was looking for it. So then he was a righteous man. He said, "What are you looking for?" "I lost my chain." She said, "Okay, I'll take it for you." He got and he took it. And then she said, "My hands are full of soap, so why don't you put it on me?" So he put it on it. There were 5 people hiding, 6 people. So they immediately came and said, "Since you put the chain, you have to accept her as wife." That's our tradition here. So people say he was strict. That's one tradition that, anyway. These are all stories, we don't know how much of these stories are always true, but I have, read some of these stories in some books. But he was a righteous man, so he said, "Okay, if that's your tradition, then I have no choice, but I have to honor it." So she was an unmarried woman, so, she became his wife. That's his story. There are many such stories floating around. How much of that is true, I don't know. But anyway, coming back to, this tradition of Apostle Thomas coming to Kerala is very much believed. Very much believed. The 7 families that were made priests and all that, and those families will be so proud about it, One, Kali uncle, Kali. What were the other families, remember? I know it's Kali uncle because that's my family tradition. So, so people are so proud, this and that, and so priesthood. I say he cannot make priesthood because everybody is a priest. It's like saying that, Thomas came and made some human beings here. How can everybody is a human being here? So Bible teaches that every born again Christian is a priest. How can he make a priest? If they say that elders were appointed, fine. Then elders are not appointed from families. So the priestly families were made. So I'm very uncomfortable with a man like Apostle Thomas cannot go against the scriptures. He was the disciple. So all the traditions are against the scriptures. Either the scripture stands, New Testament, or the tradition stands. Both cannot. So I will go for the scriptures, and a man like one of the apostles will do things that are contrary to, you cannot take it. You cannot take it. But then, of course, as I said, he came to around the Indus Valley, and a lot of Christian families were there from very old time. First century itself, they say that at least Origen is the one, I think, who made a reference to that Christianity was in that area, from the first century. There are some people who traveled, they have reported to him that there were large number of Christian families living there. So he makes them reference that Thomas went there, so he may have done it. And that's very much possible. But other than that, coming to Kerala straight, the traditions doesn't go well with it. And interestingly, the Christians there are not Syrian Christians. Syriac language is not their liturgical language. They worship the Lord in their own language. So that goes better with, these things. But if I say this before some people, I know that what's going to happen. The black sheep, because you are speaking against the pride of our culture, our religion, that's the pride of our religion. Apostle Thomas started Christianity here. Well, praise the Lord, my name is also Thomas. I can say that, my family was converted by him. So everybody who was Thomas, well, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't. So I, agree with the Latre when he said, that thus far nobody has come up with satisfactory evidence to prove or disprove it. It remains a tradition. A tradition is a tradition. Yes. India had commercial relationship with Israel and Palestine much before the time of Christ. Alexander the Great had attacked India. The war with the King Force and all that. We all studied in history, and that all happened there in the north, not in the south. It may be that Christianity was introduced to India in the 3rd century. That is most probably, because that's when the first Syrian migration has taken place. 3 migrations came, large number of people came. The Syrians are little fair skinned than our Indians. So the fact that in India, in Kerala, we have fair skinned people and darker skinned people, of course, shows that definitely certain blood mixing happened. And that has to be with, from Trichur and all that part. And yes, of course, there are, because the Syrians are, if you know the Syrians look more like the brown skin and all that, but they are fairer than what we are. You know how God made man, don't you? Adam was fair? No. See, God has never made man, first time. So he wanted to make man. So he took some mud and shaped it and all that, and then he put it for baking. You had to bake it, So he was in a hurry because God wanted to see how the man came out. So he just put it and took it out. It was not baked properly. So anyway, he said that since I made it, I don't want to throw it away. So he breathed, made alive, and he said, you all go stay in Europe. They are the Europeans. The second time God made one and he put it for baking. He said, I'm not going to be in a hurry. So he waited till it too long and took it out. Lo, it is burned up. So he said, you go to the African side, stay there. Then the Lord, the 3rd time, he made it and he said, well, the average of the 2 times, and he just took it out. Looks somewhat like us, Neither black nor white. And God said, I am well pleased with it. So Adam was our color.
There are many Keralites who have very similar features to Africans. Curly hair, thick lips, and very...
But you think that the Keralites are so morally good that they never intermarry? I don't believe that much. The anthropologists think that we are not Caucasians, we are not Negroids, we are not Mangaloids. What are we? That's a big question. So what is our origin, or our stock? So there are different theories. One of the theories is that, of course, we Keralites come from Sri Lanka. From North India, people, group of people went to Sri Lanka, and then group migrated to here. There is a place in Sri Lanka called Chova. From there people have come to Kerala, therefore they are called the Chovans, in the old time. Chovans. Yeah, that's say they are, you know. So we originally really are the people who came from Sri Lanka. Interestingly, the Sinhalese in Sri Lanka look exactly like we Malayalis. Exactly. You know. I have gone to Sri Lanka many times, and standing sometimes in the bus stand for bus, of course the Sinhalese won't grow mustache. Oh, this women and all start coming and start talking with me in Sinhalese. Though they are a little hesitant because I have a mustache, but they know that I am not a Tamilian because I don't have any of the Tamilian feature. I have their own feature. So they start talking with you. Then I say that, sorry, I'm from Kerala. Oh, I'm sorry, we thought you are from. And you also look at their women and all that, there is absolutely no difference. Like our Kerala women. And you go their homes, but they have, you go to Sinhalese home, you will get putta, nool putta, matikari, kappa, and all that you get. And but you go to the other Tamilians, you get what you get there. The food is entirely different. So I feel more comfortable with a Sinhali family, that way diet and all that. Because then I find out, hey, where do you get this from? Actually, we got it from them, maybe. That all exactly the same way we make fish curry with the kodapuli and tenga and everything, they make it the same way. So that's one theory. We don't know. There are many other theories. Anyway, we are not an original stock, that for sure. Because the originals are only those three. Yeah. We are not Caucasians. We don't have any features. There are some people, but very few. But you never see a blue-eyed Malayali.
These three races can be marked to vast you.
Yeah. Yes. 3 children, 3 races. From then inter-races come, these. They very seldom, only the Jewish people maintained racial purity. Only the Jewish people. That Jewish people means, the children of Shem, and only one part of them. They maintained. Wherever Jewish people go, they don't intermarry very much, very little. Among all the people in the world, they maintain still that one. Other than that, everybody is a mixture of some. So Malayalis is very much. So if you find somebody with one of my daughters is married to a Kenyan, my grandchildren have very the African hair. Because that's a stronger trait. Whoever marry an African, he will always have the hair. Whoever marry an American, the Caucasian, he will have the skin, fair skin. That is a stronger dominant character trait. So that way, we have some people here, it may have come from somewhere. Yeah. The original Indians were the Dravidians, The Dravidians are people, not anybody here has a Dravidian feature actually. Big forehead, thick lips, a flatter nose, and bigger heads and all that, And the Caucasians will have thin lips like a thread, and their nose will be longer, and fair skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. No, it's every race has their features. Like our Rajiv Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, they all had blue eyes. Because they were all the Kashmiri Brahmins. They come from the Indo-Aryans or Indo-Germans. They were from the Japheth tribe. So they have. Okay, so a little history of that sort. So there is no clear historical evidence exists for Christianity in the 1st century. By the 4th century, there are sufficient evidences for Christianity in India and Ceylon or Sri Lanka today. Some erroneously think that the Portuguese brought Christianity to India. It is wrong. Portuguese only brought Roman Catholicism to India. Christianity was in India flourishing at least from 3rd centuries, from the migration of the Syrians. So, the Portuguese didn't bring, nor the English didn't bring. Christianity was there. They were not called St. Thomas Christians. St. Thomas Christians is a very recent development, St. Thomas Christians. That is the latest addition that Christians in Kerala were called St. Thomas Christians. They were not called St. Thomas Christians. No. That's very recently some people just to prove that. They were called Syrian Christians. Syrian Christians.
Isn't this name Pakalomattam?
Pagalomattam, that is one of the 7 families, Pagalomattam family. Yeah. Yeah, Pagalomattam is one of the families. Yeah. So there are 5 families, 7 families. I don't know which are the other one. I'm not that much interested to keep up with these things, So, people wrongly think that Roman Catholics especially think that they were the first one to come to India. No, they were not the first one to come to India. Actually, when they came, Christianity was flourishing here, and they wanted to convert the Orthodox people to Roman Catholicism, and they did convert a large number. By force, by fraud, and by coercion, in all methods. But the majority of the Orthodox people decided, no, they will not. They will not. The Kun and Kurishas, and all that, So those who know Kerala history know that they have taken an oath by holding on to a cross, tied the rope, that they will be truthful to the Orthodox faith. The fact that the Syrian language is even today also, now it's all Malayalam, I think, but in the Orthodox Church, the priest will use few words like Kuriel, Aisum, Barak, More. There are few things they will use in between the worship and all that. Very few, less and less. Now it's all vernacular worship, so people don't appreciate, and the younger generation don't know what those phrases means also, Yes. So early Christians in India were tied with the Nestorians of Mesopotamia. In the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries, the Roman Catholic missions work was started very widely in India. Protestant missions began in India only in the 18th century, at least 2 centuries after the Roman Catholic work began. Portuguese had their empire built with Goa as the center, and the population in Goa and the coastal land were converted, all around the Arabian Sea, all the way from Kerala to where? In Bombay, the Vasai is their main fort and all that. So, a lot of people were converted. The fishermen community were converted. And Francis Xavier and few others have done, actually from their point of view, I will say they have done a great work. How did he accomplish it? I don't know. He will pray the boats and protect them from the sea problems and all that sort of people, and then promise to teach their children education, and people just joined. More than 500,000 people were converted to Romanism by the Portuguese. That's a lot of people, they converted. Later the French came to India and they established their administration with the Pondicherry as this center. Even now also Pondicherry, and in Kerala, Mahi It's used to be a French colony. Now it's a central territory. And I first time I saw Mahi, the police, they had the French cap and all that. And it was interesting to see that rest of the Kerala, they were having at those days the corn cap and less than half and all that. But while these people were having this special red cap and all that, it was very interesting. And they were having people, even these Mahi and here also Pondicherry and all, they still have a French citizenship. Yeah. And Portuguese citizenship, many people in Goa, I have met many people, they still have Portuguese passport. All those who were born before 1950 or something, they were all given Portuguese citizenship. If they wanted, they could stay here.
Even now the government the Portuguese government is encouraging them to change their citizenship because probably there's no population to there.
Yeah, that may be true, because those people drink a lot and alcohol is not very good for population in Greece also. So the French actually did not convert a lot of people. They converted some, but not like the Portuguese. The Portuguese used their military power for conversion. But the French did not use that much. The Franciscans, the Dominicans, the Carmelites, the Augustinians, they all did a lot of conversions. The Jesuits maintained a mission center in the north during the Mughal period. Akbar wanted only one religion in his country. For this, he was willing to accept different viewpoints, incorporate that all into one religion. For that reason, he has invited the Jesuit priest to his palace and conversed with them. He allowed the Jesuits to pursue their mission activity in Agra, Lahore and Delhi. The Jesuit college and all in Agra, there is a big college the Jesuits have. In South India, the Jesuits started work in Madurai, now in Tamil Nadu. Robert D. Nobly. If you go to Madurai, they have a big campus there. His picture, his statue is there. He was a distinguished Italian and nephew of Bellarmine, a Catholic theologian and who later became a cardinal, and he was related to Pope Julius III. He was assigned to Madurai and was given the care of the Paravas people. Paravas is one of the Tamil Nadu, people. So he noticed that the Paravas were not held in respect by others. So he decided to improve the social status of Christians by winning some Brahmins to Christianity. He kind of disassociated with the Paravas and built a hut near the Brahmins community. He declared himself a Roman Raja and an ascetic and adopted a lifestyle and even dressed like Brahmin teachers. His diet and everything he adjusted because he will be then more acceptable to the Brahmins. He learned the local vernacular and Sanskrit. He made extensive Catholic literature in Indian languages. He was heavily criticized by fellow missionaries for disassociating himself from the Paravas and going this way. But in 1623, Rome approved his stand. Only a minority of the converts actually came from Brahmins, but by 1703 the total Christian community rose to 200,000 in Tamil Nadu. So they're all Roman Catholics. So they made quite a bit progress. The Roman Catholics were always good in their mission work. Yes, early days they have done some social work also. An Indian clergy was recruited and trained. Later, there were Brahmin bishops. But those for the Paravas were of inferior quality and even had moral problems. This is The Brahmins had less small problems than the Paravas. The Portuguese tried to bring the Syrian Christians under the dominion of the Catholics. Some were brought, but the majority remained independent and almost a seclusive group. The Syrians never made any serious attempt to reach out to the other communities in India. That's the saddest. The Syrian Christians were not missionary minded. You know. We were there at least from the 3rd centuries. No Syrian ever went out of Kerala as a missionary. They will go everywhere for employment, for business and all, but never they have gone anywhere. Only last 50 years people start going. Otherwise, no. It's very sad.
Are the Tamilians more mission-minded than the Catholics?
Well, how can I say that? The Indian evangelical missions have mostly Tamilians in that mission. That is true. Some 400 plus missionaries are working in North India and even in countries like Burma and other areas. But the Malayalis, very few Malayalis are there. So I can say they are more mission-minded. I don't know, but they are doing. Last 50 years, Keralites have gone. Every denomination have their own. You go to any major city in India, there is a Pentecost IPC church, there will be a Brethren church, there will be this church, that church. Every church in Kerala will be having, except the Orthodox and the Marthomites, because the Marthomites and the Orthodox, they cannot do anything. Like the Marthomites is a Malayali, Malayalam is their language and their liturgy is in Malayalam and all that. They have missions, but I don't know what they do. They have worship in, they have to make a special liturgy, because they have prayers and all begins in Malayalam. The Orthodox everywhere all over the world, they can use, Latin language and all that. But we don't see any Orthodox, North Indian Orthodox man. If you see any Orthodox, he will be basically a Malayali. And also, there is no Marthomite from like Maharashtra, Marathi Marthomite. You very seldom see. There is one. He is not a Marathi Marthomite. He speaks Marathi, or he could speak Marathi, but you have any Marathi blood in you? No, you don't look like
I
that.
was born in Kerala.
That's the problem. Yeah. Marathis don't look like Keralites. Yeah, they're different. Actually, none of the North Indians look like Keralites. Keralites look differently. They have their own feature, Yes. So the Portuguese tried to convert all the Syrian Christians, into Catholicism. They did some, because look at the number of Roman Catholics in Kerala. Majority of them were all Orthodox people. Like our families migrated from Palai. My family is 400 years back, we came from Pala. And all our family, when our family came, we have history of our family written. They were all Orthodox people. There was no Roman Catholics in Pala at that time. Since we came, most everybody from our family, there is no Orthodox relation in Pala. We still got, these family meetings and Kudumba Yoga nokku parayile. Ellam Katholikara. Most all of them. No, our family is from actually our originally called the Palai, our family is called oh my goodness. They are called Plathotam family. Plathotam. That P.C. George is a Plathotam prodigal son. So it's all, there is a lot of priests in the Plathotam family, nuns and priests. He is a gentleman. And if you read Malayalam paper, you will know who he is. Yeah. And it's all Roman Catholics. But even in our family, our Kudumba Yogam, we have 3,000 families. And only the Pala people are the Catholics, others are all Orthodox and Marthamites. The majority are Orthodox and Marthamites. Only Pala section they have. So that means that the conversion has taken place after we left. That's very recently. But the whole Pala is now Roman Catholic. You won't have a single Orthodox family there. If there is one, they are migrated from to Pala for employment purpose or something, and then settle down there maybe. Yeah. The Syrian Christians, as I said, they did not do any evangelism. No, they were not interested. The reason they did not do is because they cannot make those convert Syrian Christians. Just like the Jewish people, And we go and preach the gospel, people get converted and baptized. We cannot make them Syrian Christians. We can only make them Christians, but not Syrian Christians. In all our certificates and SLC certificates and all, it is Syrian Christian. Syrian Christian. When I was born, I was a brethren, so it's a Syrian brethren Christian. That's why Syrian brethren. So it's very, 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 our parents were all very particular that, when marriage proposal or something comes, they wanted to make sure that only a Syrian family, What is there in the Syrian, I don't know, that's a different matter, but that's how the tradition, that may be the reason why from Kerala, the Syrian Christians did not go out for evangelism. Actually, so from Palghat, some 400 Hindu families, upper class Hindus, families became Christians. They were all joined to a particular, Kerala church denomination. They were, Nayars and Menons and all those people. When the time came for the children's daughters and sons' wedding, not one Syrian Christian family would accept them. Actually, the metropolitan or the bishop of that denomination requested the people that they are not backward community or they are forward communities and you can marry from there, but not one person was willing. So all those families went back to Hinduism. So how rigid, narrow-minded, I may say, that the Syrian Christians were, because they didn't want to bring somebody else from other backgrounds. How can they go and do mission work then? Because the people they convert, where will they go for marriage? So this was problem. So Syrian Christians should not be proud about their Christianity. I will say they should be sad about their Christianity because they had no mission minded. But now thank God that lately, they start marriage from other backgrounds a little bit and they are willing to go and do some evangelism. Protestantism was later to come to India. In the 17th century it arrived in the persons of the Dutch, British and the Danish traders. Each of these groups had chaplains who ministered to the Europeans and their servants. Here and there, few people communicated their faith with the local people. The majority never bothered to do it. It was only in the 18th century that the Protestant missions began to operate. So those people came in the 16th, 17th century, but very little they did, very little. Maybe they shared to the people who were helpers in their homes and all that. That's it. It was the Pietists who took the initiative to spread Protestant truths in India. You remember the Pietist movement? We talked about the Pietist movement happened, the Moravians and all that came. They were very missionary minded. They were the ones who actually took initiative to spread Christianity. Siegenbalg and Plutschau, Plutschau. They were students at the Pietist Center in Halle, and in 1706 they arrived at Tranquebar, a Danish trading post in southeast coast. They came at the instance of the Danish king. Though they were not welcome by the local Danish authorities, because they always were afraid that if you do conversion, their business interest will be hindered. The local people will get against them, and then their trading interest will be. The East India Company, British East India Company, they didn't want any missionary to come. Even when William Carey came, they resisted William Carey. They even didn't give him permission to land and operate, because they said that it's our business interest. We don't want to convert any Hindus. We only want our trading interest, business interest to go there. So, they were not welcome by the local Danish authorities. They persuade, learned Tamil, and won converts from Hinduism and Roman Catholicism. More recruits from Pietists in Germany came. The Anglicans and the Danish, and even some Lutherans, gave financial aid to these men. These Protestant communities grew and persisted into the 20th century. So the early Protestant work was started by the Pietist movements of the Danish origins. The others, they had no interest at all, no interest. The Arabs used to come to Kerala. Actually, the Arabs had a monopoly for the spice trade. The Jewish people also did, but the Arabs were the one. The Arabs bought it, came to Kerala, and from the Jewish people also they bought it, and then they traded it to the Europeans. The Arabs were making very big profit. The Europeans decided that they wanted to bypass the Arabs. So for that one, actually they tried to come to Kerala. But they have taken a wrong route. All the way went to Cape, the Africa, they came that way, the Good Hope and all that. So it was a long route. They could have come easily. But of course the Suez Canal was not at that time, operating, so it was not easy. But however, the Europeans begin to trade directly with Kerala, Vasco da Gama, was the first one to come to. Where did he come? Kapad in Calicut. That place is still there. Nice place. If you ever visit Kerala, Kapad beach. Yeah, there's nothing, no monument or anything really. They should have made a monument and all that, but there is a nice rock. You can go where Vasco da Gama landed and all that, there's some, KCDC has some good hotels and all now. That's it, But the history is, it's a historic spot where the first European landed in the whole India, Yes, the first European. That fellow had very poor information about the India, the advancement of India. He thought actually that Indians were, people, naked people, maybe they have no clothes and, no education, nothing. So it said that he has filled his ship with a lot of raw clothes, to give to. Here came the Samudri, received him. And Samudri presented him in a small matchbox, 7 meters of clothes, and he opened it and he was surprised, so he dumped all his clothes in the waters. He didn't want to present. And then he bought from here the calico cloth. Calico clothes at that time were made in Calicut. So they were calico. You know what calico is? Calico cloth became very popular in Europe and all, Yeah. So Kerala was a very flourishing industrially and economically and all at that time. They were very, very flourishing. Of course, these people were very cunning. They made friendship with the rulers, and then they fought each other. Like he will support Samudri to fight against the Cochin Raja. In the Cochin Rajas, the problem was they become kings only when they are in the 90s, 95 and all. The Marmakatayam system there, why one king dies, the next one will be almost ready to die, so they will make. So anybody who comes to attack these old people cannot. So Kerala king actually gave an advice to the Cochin king. You get out of that tradition and make a young person as a king. So they made Shaktantapuran as a king. That was violating so many, bypassing so many. Shaktan was a young man and he was made the king of Cochin, and then the Samudris couldn't. So he bought back, he fought and got back all the land the Samudris have taken away. So if the leader is not powerful enough, problem. That's Kerala history, So whenever the Jewish people, they had a persecution in Palestine, they found India, especially Kerala, as a haven for them. The only country that did not persecute Jewish people in the history is India. You know that? The only country where Jewish people were not persecuted is India. They were never persecuted for some reason or other. But in every other place where they went, they were persecuted. In Bombay they have, how many synagogues they have? 2 or 3? Yeah, they have. I don't know how many Jewish families are there here. Kerala we don't have anymore, only 3 families left. All the others were returned. There is actually a Kerala section in Israel. You can go, they still speak Malayalam. Yeah. And there are 3 families now left. And because only 3 families, even they cannot eat any beef or mutton, because they don't have people to kill it ceremoniously. They can kill chicken at the home. They don't have to say too many words of prayer for, but beef and all, they have to have their ceremonious way of killing. So they don't. I interviewed one of the Jewish person there. I know a little bit Hebrew, so I just walked into their place and they said Shalom. So they surprised, Shalom. So they asked me, you come from Israel back? No, I said I'm a Malayali staying here. Then why did you say Shalom? So they were excited. Then I asked them a few things, I wanted to know a few things. So they were very gracious to answer me. So I asked them about their diet, and they said we cannot eat any mutton or beef. We are satisfied only with, kosher meat. That's what they like. The Muslims call halal. Halal, yeah. These people have kosher meat and kosher salt. They have special salt. You have to put in the meat, punch it with pork, so that with a knife, so that all the blood in the cells will come out when you put the salt. They cannot eat blood, so they will, punch it and spread this kosher salt, and then you can see all the water and the blood will ooze out. So there's a ceremonial way of, eating them. It's nice to learn from them. You can eat healthy meat, not in Maharashtra. Now, anyway, you can go from here to Bangalore to eat, or you can go to UP. Goa also they have, okay. They cannot kill it there, but they can import it, yeah. That's good. I know that when I go to Felix, they cook nice roast, beef roast, and I love it. Yeah. Well, they don't want to go. These 3 families, well, they have a synagogue here. They wanted to maintain the synagogue. That's one reason. Secondly, they have business interest here. They may go. They said we will go one day. Yeah, they will go one day. Who was the richest Jewish man in India who...
Yes,
Yeah. Yes, Scotter, yeah, there is a family name, they are Scotter, the Scotter family, yes, the Scotter family. They all gone, they are big business operations in Kerala, they all, yes, the Godrej and all, yeah, they were very big people, they have gone, So you can go to Israel and meet some of these people, and of course a lot of Indians are from northeast. I was surprised, I was Calcutta also. I was going Manipur. Just one evening I took a walk in Manipur. We had a church meeting there. So with a friend of mine we were going, and then I saw the Star of David, the sign. I said, the Star of David here. Then I saw the synagogue, Jewish synagogue. So I walked it, upstairs it was. I just walked in, there were about 30, 40 people. I think after prayer they were. So I said, can I come in and have a word with you? He said, you should come in. And he said, you don't look Jewish people. You look very much, they look very much like the Mongoloid, Mongolian feature and all that. So I said, how come you are Jewish? We said, we are. Then one of them pulled out their Jewish passport and show me, we all possess, we come and go. So a lot of our people gone, and these people also go. There are some like 120 or 30, Manipuri people. They claim they were the lost, part of the lost tribe of Manasseh. That's what they claim. Also from Nagaland or from some other places also some have gone. Even from Ethiopia, black Jews have gone to Israel, The pure black Jews, they are Jewish people. They test their genes and all that, they find out they are.
They can be black Jews?
Well, that's not very difficult. I was in Kenya for a short time. When I came back, everybody said, Karambanayallo. The sun there, it's you always wear a jacket or something because it's cold, but it's so hot. Your face, body gets very dark. So I think these people, were exposed for generations and generations. Maybe when the children are born still fair, but very soon they change their color, so they're black. Then for the Jewish people, you can marry a pagan woman because the genealogy go only by man. A Ruth can come in, or a Rahab can come in. It doesn't affect hurt their genealogy. But a Jewish woman marrying a pagan, she loses their Jewish heritage. She has to go, So it's possible that some of the interracial marriages, like Moses of course married an Ethiopian girl, became a family problem. So that was permitted, so the color may have changed.
No conversion to
These people may have converted, definitely they will convert. Because it's difficult for women to be converted because circumcision is a sign of conversion, it's only for men. So their children will be converted. Boys will be circumcised, girls will be married maybe to Jewish boys. That way they will definitely become. In AD 190, from Alexandria, a man called Demetrius, he has sent another man called Pandrenus, Pandrenus. When he came here, it is said that he has seen Christian presence in India. Eusebius, in his ecclesiastical history, has made a reference to that one. That is in 190. That is towards the end of the 2nd century. So it's very much possible that Christianity, the Syrian migrations started. They say that 2nd, 3rd centuries migrations came. So already a lot of people came. These Syrian people who came from Syria, they actually a lot of them intermarried with the Kerala women. Yes. They will take women, but but to maintain their again their genealogy. In 1706, the Danish mission was established in Tranquebar, I mentioned earlier. This place became the headquarters for the future Protestant work. Actually, that's where the Protestant work in India began. It was a missionary by name Bartholomew Siegenberg who first came to Tranquebar. The British governors were not sympathetic to Christian missions, as they were afraid that conversions would adversely affect their business interests. So they put Siegenberg in jail for 4 months. However, hundreds of people were converted to Christianity by the work of this man. In 1719, Danish mission was expanded by the addition of new missionaries, and more conversions took place. Danish mission started printing press, schools, seminaries, etc. It is said that at the close of the 18th century, Danish mission had more than 50,000 believers. Danish mission also printed a Tamil Bible. Most of the areas of the Danish missions were later taken away by sea erosion. So they have lost their headquarters and everything. Tranquebar is by the side of the Arabian Sea, so it's all gone. Siegenberg had made great contributions to mission work. He is the first person to start education for girls. That's notable because in India girls were not educated. This man died at the age of 36. He worked for 13 years in India. But he had done so much in that. Indian government published a postal stamp honoring him, So, his contributions were taken note of even by the government. The Baptist missions began its work in West Bengal. Who was the first missionary? William Carey. He was the first Baptist missionary to come. In 1793, the Carey sailed to India under the Baptist Missionary Society. His greatest work was in translation of the Bible. In 26 Indian languages, either fully or partly, William Carey translated the Bible. Think of that, in 26 languages. The Marathi Bible is translated by him only. What a man he is. Bengali, he has learned Sanskrit, Hindi, he made a dictionary, grammar books, so much, Later the East India Company hired him as a language teacher for the ICS people, for the Indian Civil Service. William Carey had no college education, nothing. But he was a genius, I guess when you are, either you should be educated or should be born a genius. What's the secret to born a genius? I never no, because I'm not born a genius, so I cannot understand that. Some people are born like that. Yes. Krishna Chandrapal was the first convert to William Carey after hard work of 12 years. It took 12 years to convert one person in West Bengal. In 1800, December 28th, he was baptized by Mr. Carey. That was a landmark in the history of India, that the first Indian Hindu was converted by this man. But in South India, many were converted. But in 1804, he was ordained a pastor, this Krishna Chandrapal, of the Baptist Church. Krishna Pal had written many Bengali songs. Baptist mission spread to northeast. American Baptist missionary Nathan Brown in 1836 came to Assam. Along with another missionary, Oliver Cutter, he began to work. An Assamese known as Atmaram Sharma became the co-worker. Nathan Brown has done great literary work in Assamese. He published an Assamese newspaper and also a grammar book. These men, I was fascinated. These men came from this Europe. They come here, learn the Indian language. They learned grammar. They write books for us. Is it because of their intellectual advancement, or is because of their adventurous character. You know, both maybe, because simply with adventure character, they cannot do that. So they are very smart people, very smart. You know, when Revankar came here, first time he came with his whole family. Their first daughter, eldest daughter Rachel, you know, she is a linguistic expert. Very interestingly, you know, we sat down and she asked me to say a few sentences in Malayalam, and just in half an hour, she was able to say that the declension and the conjugation. So this belongs to this order of verbs. The endings. I was fascinated. So they have that sort of a mind, you know. Just listening to a language, then she was able to say that, okay, this word, yes, I give a word, she will say this will end like this, present tense will be like this, past tense will be like this, and future tense will be like this. So fast she was able to copy a language. Here Malayalam is very difficult for me. All the conjugation declensions of Malayalam, you know, it's so difficult. Sandhi samasam എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നതേ ഭയങ്കര പ്രയാസമല്ലേ നമുക്ക്. They have no problem. She went to Israel to learn Hebrew. She sat down the class. You know, and she said, Professor, this is not the way to teach Hebrew. I can teach you. She was made a professor in that Hebrew university to teach Hebrew. She said, you are teaching the old Hebrew, biblical Hebrew, not the current, the biblical Hebrew wrongly. You know. Because she, of course, all the children were taught from very childhood Hebrew and Greek. You know, those languages. But not all of them are good, but she was. So there's a mind, I think, a linguistic mind. Some people can just hear a language and they can just catch it, you know. Yeah. Malayalis, I don't know, they're linguistic very much. But the people say that Malayali can learn any language. That may be true. You know, but how perfectly they learn it, that's a different matter. You know, the grammar and all that. They can talk. They can survive anywhere. Yeah, that's true. Because they have an advantage of their tongue, because we have all these la, ra, ma, ra, all these sound. Any language you can, because your tongue has to be turned this way and this way, twist your tongue, you know, then only. The others cannot say, you know. So we have that advantage of having 56 letters. Yes. In 1836, gospel came to Meghalaya. Yes. It was a man known as Duan who received baptism in 1836. He belonged to the Khasi tribe, you know, Khasi tribe. Yes. Another man, Anna, also took baptism with the Duan. These two became co-workers with missionaries. And they have done a good work in Meghalaya. Ray James, who came to India as an employee of East India Company, got saved here in India. He resigned his job, went to Sarampur University to study Bible, and later he was ordained as a worker of the Baptist mission. In 1836 he moved to Guwahati, Assam, and started the Baptist work there. He baptized 12 men soon. The first Baptist church of Guwahati was started. You know, that's the way. AD 1847, a young man named Hubi Koniaku, I don't know the names of Hubi Koniaku, was converted and was baptized from Nagaland. Nathan Brown baptized him in 1847, September 2. But this man died shortly because of cholera. You know, Nagaland has celebrated their 125th anniversary, 150th anniversary of Christianity, something like that, few years back. The Khasis of Meghalaya. It was a Presbyterian missionary called Thomas Johns who came to Meghalaya to work among the Khasis. He reached in, Cherupuncha, where in 1841. His wife delivered a baby the second day after reaching Meghalaya, and the baby died. It was a shock for them. However, they persisted in the work. Johns learned Khasi language and preached in Khasi. God prospered their work. He wrote many books in Khasi language. He translated parts of the New Testament into Khasi language. Cherubuncha, or where the lot of rain. Cherappunchi, yeah. Malayalam. He made his headquarters. Having finished his work in Khasi Hills, he returned to England in 1847 and died there in 1849. Yes. So the Northeast were slowly, reached in the 1800s and the 1900s. John Jinks. In 1832, John Jinks came to India as a chaplain of East India Company. In 1852, he became the priest of St. James Church in Delhi. During Kumbh Mela, John Jinks, along with his friends, went to Ganges and shared Christ to the crowd there. This became a point of much controversy among the whole Christians and Hindus. Some against what John did, some in favor of it. But the Hindus and Muslims were against, and they condemned him. John Jinks continued his work visiting orphanages, jails and schools. As a result, many Hindus and Muslims became Christians. Among those who accepted Christ were the physician of the Mughal emperor, Dr. Chaman Lal, and Ramachandra, a professor of the Delhi University. John Jinks baptized both of them in the midst of many at the St. James Church in Delhi. Islamic leaders asked the emperor to dismiss the palace doctor, from the service. But the emperor said that I don't want to mix medicine and religion. So he remained. John Jinks have done many contributions to literature and education. The famous St. Stephen's High Schools were started by him. 1853-54, today the St. Stephen's College and all that, the John Jinks is the founder. In 1857, May 10, worship was going on in St. John's Cathedral, which was some 30 miles away from Delhi. Hundreds were in attendance with children and women. Hundreds of soldiers of the British Army, all Indians, rushed into the cathedral and started shooting. There were hundreds of British soldiers attending the meeting. That night, over 700 Christians were killed. What is it known in the Indian history? The first freedom struggle, others called Sepoy and all that, After this, the cavalry moved to Delhi. Infantry also moved. They killed every Christian meeting there. They moved to Jinks' home. They killed John Jinks, his wife and children. They also killed Ramachandra in the street. They shot Dr. Chaman Lal. They destroyed the army building. They destroyed the hospital. They shot dead the principal of the University of Delhi, Francis Taylor. Those Christians fled from the church due to fear, took asylum at the Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah. There were 52 people. The emperor protected them, but the mob asked the emperor to give them. He refused, but by violence they entered in and killed every one of them. They also killed 73 British women and 124 boys and girls. The reason for this massacre was that they were Christians. John Jinks and thousands were martyred. He went to the Kumbh Mela. That was very offensive. Of course, there were many other interpretations about it. The using of the what you call the fat from the cattle for lubricate the and all that. There's many theories, but basically, this was a religious massacre. Yes. There was a memorial conducted for this one, and of course the man who was invited to speak at the memorial was nobody other than Charles Spurgeon. He was only 20 years old that time. Yes. He didn't come. In England they conducted a memorial for the British people who had died,
It's taken there.
The bodies made, they had a memorial. They had a memorial, Yeah, they had a memorial. So Spurgeon at that time was very young, but he was very most popular preacher in England. A man called by God. Okay, we'll take a break here.